Welcome to another Secret Influence TV interview. I'm Nick Ronald and I'm a copywriter and also run training on how to influence. I help people write to grow their brand, get more sales through writing to influence. Because influencing is such an important skill. If you can't influence in life, then life will influence you. Influence is such an important skill. If you want to grow your business and get more customers or clients, you have to be able to influence people. If you want to get promotion in your business or get a job, when you go for an interview, you've got to influence people. So on Secret Influence TV interviews, I interview people who have a story to tell or expertise to share. And today I'm very excited to be interviewing Heather Jones, who's a model, psychic and a presenter at Cellcast. So we're having a chat about what Heather does. So welcome, Heather, to Secret Influence TV.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
So just first question is, because I interview people from around the world, what country are you based in?
I'm in the UK.
You're in the UK, great.
I'm in the UK.
So just to start off, so you know, where do you work? So starting with sort of, we'll talk through different things you do. Starting with sort of Cellcast. Tell me about that. What does Cellcast do?
So Cellcast is a company that owns a couple of different channels. They focus mainly on what's the right term? Telemarketing. Okay. Telemarketing or telesales. So they're selling a product. In my case, it would be psychic readings, where people call in and get their psychic readings. So that's where I work. That's what I do mostly.
and for that show, where is it? Is it an online show? Is it a digital channel?
Yes. So we used to be on Sky TV, but now we are exclusively online. So we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We have an app that you can watch the show from using the app. But yeah, it's live streamed, so it's all live. It can be challenging at times, and it can be a little bit, because we used to, when we were, very often you normally have a producer working with you, so you'll have somebody talking in your ear, and of course you're trying to give psychic reading, you're trying to host the show, and that can be I think the first time I did it, I was really nervous because I hadn't done anything with a producer talking to me live while you're trying to concentrate on what you're saying. Sure. But they said, you did really well. You did really well. And I said, sure. I think it's because I have children and I'm used to hearing one conversation over here and trying to speak to somebody at the same time. So it was good. It's good training. It's good training, basically.
I've got a 5-year-old son, Heather, and I called him, my nickname for him is Lord Distractor, because he's so good at distracting. He's like an expert. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to, he just distracts me, whoever it is, and takes your focus. He's only 5 years old, but that's one of his unique abilities, distract people. So yeah, I don't identify that. I think being a parent, there's many skills you can use in life. Would you say, I mean, very different. So with doing live recordings and doing a recorded show, do you prefer any? Because I mean, I guess live in some ways more exciting. Perhaps there's a certain element to it, because you don't bit more pressure. But, do you prefer live, or do you prefer the sort of recorded side where you do it and then?
I think it depends. When you're pre-recording something, it's great because if you make a mistake, it's not perfect, it doesn't matter because you can redo it, you can restart it. But when you're live, and I actually trained as an actor. I went to I did drama, I did acting classes, and it's all geared up for stage performance. So you're geared up for being live, and there's nothing like being on stage in front of an audience. You get that immediate feedback, when it's going well. But when you're in a studio, or if you're web hosting or something like that, and you don't have an audience, you have no idea how it's going. So you just have to kind of keep your fingers crossed and see, because it is an interactive show. People can call in and they text into the show, so you do get a little bit of feedback, but it's not like doing something live in front of people. So it's very different. But yeah, I don't know which one I prefer. I think I enjoy both of them. Okay. Yeah.
I'll just do, ask some questions about the psychic side of what you do. I mean, first of all, can you describe what that means? What that means, being psychic? Because obviously different people have different perceptions or understanding of it. What do you mean by it?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think people have very, very different perceptions of what being psychic is, and I think, if you're expecting to sit down with someone like Professor Xavier, for example, and they're reading your mind, and they can tell you everything, all the details, and I think that's very different. We all work differently. Sure. That's a key point, because there's not really a school that we can go to and all learn to do things exactly the same way. This is how you have to do it. So that is a challenge. I think people, they do really think that you can give them like an address, or you can give them a name, or you can give them a date, and sometimes that you just don't get that information, and I'm really apologetic for that. All I can do is apologize. When we talk about that we work with energies, we're talking about emotions, really. We're talking about what people are thinking, we're talking about how people are feeling, and it can get quite challenging, because each person is different, each situation is unique, and you have to deal with what you've got in front of you. And some people, they call through and they'll be asking about their person, but all the information that's coming out is all about themselves, and they don't necessarily want to hear that, because they want to find out what Dave's doing, or and the message really is to say, look, you need to shift your focus back onto you, like stop stalking, stop just stand back a bit. So it's very challenging. Sometimes you have to filter what you're giving to people, especially with mediumship. I started working with a spiritualist church. I went to the spiritualist church, and they really don't like psychics in spiritualist church, which I was really surprised at. But they love mediums, and literally that whole religion is built up around mediumship. And they do teach you to do mediumship in a particular way. They want it done a certain way, and you do have to fit. That means you do have to filter what information you're being given to pass on. So so you can see why a lot of mediums will maybe train with the church, but then they move away and do their own thing, because they want to be free. They don't want to have those restrictions. So that's interesting to see.
It's interesting what you say. It sounds almost like a detective work when you're talking to someone, to understand, you're sort of sensing some things, and to understand, what exactly they're perhaps we're asking for, or a bit more about them to piece together. There's a bit of a, and I guess also with that, it's a bit of perhaps rapport building almost, because I guess if you speak to someone and they're very closed, it's hard to it's going to be hard to help them if they're very sort of closed. But if they're perhaps more open, and it's going to be easier to connect. And
and I do think certainly some people call through, and obviously it's not the cheapest way to get a reading, and because I can't see that person, they can't see me.
Right.
But if I'm web hosting, then they can actually see me on the screen while they're talking, but you can't hear what I'm saying, unless you're on the phone to me. But if I'm just logged in on the phone lines and somebody calls through, they have no idea. I have no idea what they look like. Right. And so, yeah, some people, they call through and they might have had a fantastic reading with somebody, and so they hold all other readings up against this one reading they've had before. And I've done that myself. It's difficult not to when you've had a really spot on amazing reading. So you go through and I'll try this psychic. So you go through and speak to somebody new, and because they don't, I don't know what it is, but something you do kind of close down a bit, because you're thinking, I want them to tell me everything.
Sure.
I want them, they know, they're psychic, they're going to know, I shouldn't have to say anything. Yeah. So yeah, I think because I always treat people like they're my friend when they call through. Right. I'm not there to judge anybody. I'm not there to tell them what to do. I see it more of a kind of a wellness service, where wherever I can boost people up and give them some information to help them in their situation, or like I would say, forewarned is forearmed. Right. So people know what to expect. I give them different options if I can. Say, well, if you do this, if you take this action, this will be the outcome. If you take that, but I try to make it as rounded as I possibly can, and it is because you're giving people advice, and some people take it so seriously that you've got to be very careful. And some people, they're not necessarily going to be in the right mindset or the mood to hear the truth. So you kind of have to sometimes some people you do have to be gentle with, and some people you can be very direct with. And some people, you can tell them exactly what you've got there in front of you, and they'll completely misinterpret what you said. Right. I've had that before, this lady, and I said, look, she was asking if this guy was going to call her back, when was he going to be in touch and all that. And I said, look, he's had some time away, he's reflected on it, but he still feels justified in his choice. So I don't feel like he's going to be back in touch. Sure. But if you wanted to reach out to him, who knows, he may well, talk to you, listen to what you have to say. And she said, well, how can he regret his choice if he's not going to call me? How can you say that? And I said, well, I didn't say that, so I repeated it again. Yeah. So then you do have to maybe try and word it differently, so that they can say, look, he's fine with choosing this, making this decision of this breakup. He doesn't want to revisit this. So yeah, some people, you try to be gentle sometimes, but then they take it, they don't understand what you said. So because they're too involved in that, I want this to happen. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me that what I want to happen is going to happen. And sometimes it's not possible. And I can only apologize for that again. But unfortunately, yeah, some people need to hear though
reassurances. I guess everyone confirming what they want to happen or expect to happen. Sometimes it's good just have a confirming. But if you tell something that's isn't confirming what they want, then I guess that's a challenge. But
and they get really stuck there, and sometimes I think it does some people good to just know, like, that person's not calling you, this is done with, you can move on, and it helps them draw a line under that situation. Sure. But then other people, they can't let it go, and right. They need to get some closure somehow. And I think talking to a psychic, sometimes it might help them to get that closure before they can move on. So is
it harder doing a reading over the phone to when you're talking to someone by video, or doing it in next to in a real environment, or does it make no difference to you?
Yeah, to me, it doesn't really make any difference, because if I was doing a reading for somebody face to face, I'd actually feel more under pressure that I have to look at them. Because when I'm doing a reading, I tend to either look at what I've got here, or I look off to the side. I don't tend to look at the person.
Okay.
So when someone sat in front of me, I find that maybe a little bit more intimidating reading them, because I feel like they want me to look at them. They want, because I'm talking to them, and that's what you do when you talk to people. So I think over the phone, it really does. It works nicely. You know, we do readings on Facebook as well. We do text message readings. So it really, I don't think it makes much difference. But some people will prefer face to face. Yeah, so it just depends on how you prefer to work, I suppose.
And a quick question: what age were you when this was something you knew you had this ability or skill? What was it? Was it when you were young, or was it only more sort of?
No, I was very young, definitely very, very young. And I don't know, I just always felt a little bit odd, a little bit different. And when I was growing up, we had lovely Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World, I think it was. And I kind of grew up watching that, and it used to freak me out, but it did actually give me that information, what psychic was, what it meant, and things like that. So I knew then that I could do this, and then from that point, it was kind of about, I suppose, honing that to a point where you could maybe get one piece of information about a person or about a situation, or knowing something's coming in, and then turning that into, how do you then get a half an hour reading from that one piece of information? How do you, so it is like exercising. You've got to build up to it. You can't just jump in and give,
So you said, you hone it. I mean, it's so it's something you've developed over years, and from what you're saying, I mean, is this something you've done yourself, or did you do speak to other psychics? I mean, for example, I'm a copywriter, so I do a lot of networking with other people who do the same thing, and obviously I've done courses and training, built my skills. I mean, is that the same with you? Do you network with other people other psychics, or have you done training to help you?
Yeah,
with your skills? I don't know. Is that something that you've done, or is that not?
Yeah, people kept saying to me, "Oh, you have to go to a circle. You have to go sit in a circle. If you want to be, if you want to work as a psychic, you have to sit in a circle." So, I had it in my head for a long time that in order for me to call myself a psychic reader and, advertise and get customers and, work with people, that I had to follow a certain pathway. But actually, what I did was tarot, I work with tarot mostly. So with tarot, you don't actually need to be psychic in order to learn the tarot or read tarot. And there are a lot of readers out there that have just learned to read the cards, and they don't have any sort of psychic skills that they have honed, etc. So I learned to read tarot, and then as part of my training, like self-taught, what I did was I used to go and have a lot of readings to try and understand, try and see how other people did it, and try and see who I liked, what type of readings as well, because there's so many different types of readings. So I would have a huge variety of readings with different people, and it's interesting to see how everybody does put things together differently. So that was really helpful for me, and I suppose over the years it's something that you learn by doing as well.
Right, of course.
and I think the more life experience you have, maybe the better your readings get. So they're constantly changing, you know, improving, or, you know, you're always adapting it. You know, definitely working on the phone, you have to adapt what you're doing. So again, that was a challenge, but it's so you've got to be flexible basically when you're doing this. Yeah, I think I have networked with different people, and I think definitely going to a church, that was a big change up for me. Because I was suddenly around people that actually were, you know, kind of the same as me, you know, because in spiritualist churches, the main focus is you have a medium that stands at the front, and they do what's called platform work, and that's where they give messages to people that are sat in the congregation. And you know, I've done that a few times. That is really difficult, because you've got to follow these strict rules from the church, and that's challenging. But then when I've done you know, because I never really say to people that I do mediumship. I don't advertise myself as a medium, but I can do it. And I think I don't. The reason I don't do it so often, I don't advertise that I do that, is because people will literally come up to you and ask, "Have you got a message for me?" Have you got a message for me?
Sure.
And you just think, yeah, I could do it right now, but then it's very exhausting. And also, you can't guarantee who's going to come through to that person. You know, you've got no control over that. You know, they could be waiting to hear from somebody in particular, and then you're giving them, you know, like the anti-Hilda or something, and they're like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who you're talking about, because they're just expecting to hear from one person. They can't imagine there's anybody else there for them. And also they're like, well, why don't they want to talk to me? I don't know. It's, you know,
does that happen? I mean, has that happened often? I mean, you know, does it? You know, I'm sure it must be like any business life, you know, in a sense, you know, I mean, you know, where you're doing a service, I mean, you know, you get people good reactions, but, you know, people are obviously very happy, but I mean, there must be times when people don't get the answer.
Oh my gosh,
or,
yeah. You know. It's so interesting, because I don't think any other business will have this, is when you tell people you're a psychic or you're medium, for example, they'll either ask you to give them a reading on the spot, like you have to prove that you can do it to them before they would engage you in any business, but literally they're just getting something for free. Or they will they'll just, instead of, you know, talking about business and what it is to, you know, have a business and run a business, they then say, oh, I don't believe in that, believe in that. Well, they'll be like, oh, I really believe in that, and then they'll tell you about all these other times where they've had things, and you know, it's great. So you do get some interesting conversations. But yeah, I don't think any other business gets that, where someone says, oh, I don't believe in what you do. Don't believe in that. And I think, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because it is, I mean, it is about belief, but, you know, I suppose for me, it's all about the wellness and the person's well-being. So I see it very much as a kind of a life coaching or wellness kind of business. So, but again, like if you ran into a life coach and you wouldn't then say, oh, great, can you do me a plan, please? True. Work it all out right now. Please.
Yeah, that's true.
It wouldn't happen. Or, you know, double glazing. Oh, great, can I have some windows, please?
Yeah,
you know,
you're right. You're right. It's
you know, anything really. Like, oh, I'm an economist, and people then don't say, well, I don't believe in that. It's all false. You know, it's and they tell you their conspiracy theories about why it's awful. You know, I don't think that that really happens to other people as much as it happens to psychics.
I think it's one of those unique things in that way that people, they have in their mind. You know, they're generally speaking, you know, they either very, they believe that they, very positive about it, or they're a bit skeptical, perhaps. It's one of those things. But if someone was interested in seeing a psychic, how would they know? So I guess like any business, they're good. To get a plumber, there's good plumbers, good builders, bad builders. There's, you need someone who, you trust. So how would someone know how to find a good psychic, or how would they find, how would they check? Yeah, how would they check? Obviously to see you, Heather, but is it how?
It's because I've actually had that where somebody has recommended a psychic to me, so I went. I think in the space of a week, I went to see her. My sister went to see her. Somebody that I worked with went to see her. We all kind of went, all very close together. And then when we compared lists of what she told us afterwards, because we were all around the same age, she'd literally told every single one of us exactly the same information. And she's quite a famous psychic in my area. She's been working for a long time, and people say she's fantastic, she's fabulous. So I think it's interesting that, I think with anybody that you're choosing in life to come into your life, and I think psychics in particular, because they are looking at very personal situations, you're dealing with emotions, you need to find somebody that you feel like you can trust. You need to find someone that you feel like they are basically someone that you can open up to and talk to. It's a bit like finding a counselor, I suppose. You do have to find someone that you can gel with. I think this is why I enjoy working at Psychic Today, and I tend to just do all my readings through them, because there's so many of us that people, literally the customers, they can read our profiles, they can see videos of us, and so you get to see what that person's like before you give any money or go have a reading. Whereas I think a lot of psychics, you don't necessarily get to see them working, so before you have that reading, so you are going on recommendations, but what's good for one person might not be good for their mom or their best friends or what have you. So it's I would say shop around, because there's definitely a lot of people out there that take advantage. Definitely shop around. And I'd say as well, when it comes to pricing, because we all work independently and some quite international, pay attention to their pricing. If and I feel like some really overinflate their prices. And I think really you should be, if you're going to sit with someone, you want to be paying about, I don't know, no more than £40, say, for maybe like 40 minutes. Work out maybe about £1 a minute, basically. So definitely be careful. Social media is great though to find psychics, because often they do lives, like Facebook lives, Instagram lives, and so you can see them working, and you get a feel for who they are as a person. So if you feel like, yes, this is somebody that is on my level, they're also, I'd say, like around the same age. Age doesn't really matter, but I think for some people, maybe a bit older, like in their 60s, for example, and then they're doing a reading for like a 20-year-old. They've got, obviously, that the reader has got lots of experience there, but they don't necessarily know what it's like to be 20 nowadays. And I think as well, there's a tendency there sometimes from psychics to talk down to people, and be a little bit patronizing, and I think that's a real shame. They don't mean to do that, because genuine psychics are all about people and helping people.
I think it's sorry, that's the key point there. Is anything we're working with someone like life coaching or counseling or psychic, or You know, it's about form a connection, a rapport. If you can feel open, you can open up someone and trust someone, and you know, then you're more, you're gonna, I think, you're gonna get the best of that, sort of service.
Yeah.
I think social media is an interesting point made about social media, because I think, you know, it has made it easier to connect with people. There's a lot of social proof sides, and I think it, you know, shows even relates to psychic. Any business service, you know, you can connect to people who have used that business service. You can see what people are saying, and it's a good way of, I think, doing research and you know, and finding out whether a person who offers something is right for you, or, you know, fits your. So it's interesting to hear that, even with what you do, it's.
Oh yeah. I think I would definitely, if I can see, because I do think I go for the person rather than, you know, the price, the business. I think you do invest in people at the end of the day. I think no matter what, because especially if you're having worked on in the home or something, you want to know that person that's coming in, it's going to be just, you know, they're going to understand that this is your home, and they're going to respect that, and also that, you know, they might just come in and get on and go. But, you know, I think sometimes it's good I like to have a little chat with people every now and again. And I think, you know, if you feel like you can stop and chat to somebody, then, you know, I think that person's going to get my business over somebody that is just a little bit like too standoffish, too at a distance.
I guess they say there's a saying in business, to get business, you know, you need to get people to like and trust you. And I think that applies to anything in life. You know, where you're trying to get someone to, you know, buy your product service, but, you know, join your community. You know, you're trying to get to a cause to an extent. You know, and in life, it's all about getting someone first to know you, like you, and trust you. And I think all those elements. So Rachel, you just talk about some of the other things you do now, because, you know, you've got quite an interesting portfolio of different things you're involved in. You know, as well as being a psychic, you know, you're also a model, you know, a presenter, and you write blogs too. I mean, with all these different things you do you think it's important for nowadays to have a few different income streams, or a few side hustles? You know, because I presume it's important to you, because that's why you do different things. Do you think it's important nowadays not on one thing, but to have a few?
I think it is, and I think, you know, if you can try and keep them related, then that works, because, you know, I remember when I was doing drama, and I kept saying to people, I want to be an actor, and everybody, as soon as they said that to people, they would say, well, you've got to get good grades, you've got to have something to fall back on, you can't just do that. And then even when you're doing drama, that, you know, they put you in other trains, they sort of gear you up to be able to kind of go and do anything. So you've got your singing, you've got your music lessons, you got your dancing, you've got all of those things. So they're just gearing you up for kind of general performance. Sometimes that involves going into production, or, you know, hair and makeup, special effects, you know, all kinds of different aspects to do with entertainment. So I think for years, anybody that's worked in entertainment will know that you do have to diversify, because the chances of you getting that job that is going to pay you for life, you don't have that job security that you get with maybe being a doctor or a solicitor or something like that. So they gear you up from a young age. Well, as soon as you say you want to do it, you're geared up to really know that you have to, you know, be prepared to do other things. So and I think when I first started out back in the day, I got a few gigs which were dance. I mean, it was all performance related, but I did belly dance. So I did a lot to do with basically a few gigs around that. I'm laughing about it now, but you do find yourself doing the oddest things. But really, you've got to have this whole sort of skill set, so that you can just say, yeah, I can do that. And sometimes just say, yes, I can do that. And you've never done it before, but you have to be confident. And then, I did get into, when I like doing psychic readings, it was always something that I would kind of fall back on. Because it is considered entertainment, doing the psychic readings. So it was something that I would fall back on if I didn't have any gigs coming up, or if I was out of work for any amount of time. Very often people would like say, oh, you're psychic, come and do some readings for me, I'm having a party. And then people get drunk, and then you do a completely bizarre sort of crazy like teenage type reading. So I mean, you absolutely do have to diversify. I did I started writing. I wanted to honestly, I have so many unfinished books lying around the house, it's not funny. And I did train as a counsellor as well, because I noticed during the readings they were quite intense. So I wanted to know how to deal with people in front of me that were getting having to deal with some intense stuff. So I trained as a counsellor as well. So I have taken this bizarre route to get where I am right now. I did actually have a psychic reading years and years ago, and the lady told me I was going to work in TV. And at the time I was like, I want to be an actor, and she was like, no, you'll be on TV, but it'll be for it's going to be for like a cable channel or something. So it's not going to be basically she said it wasn't acting. And so I was like, so I was a bit deflated by that. But then a few years later I did get like my first TV job, which was for a shopping channel, and that was quite good. That lasted a couple of years, so that was good. And then when I finished there, I thought, I kind of got that job by chance as well. And then once that job was finished, I was like, I don't know how to get another TV job. I just don't know. So I thought that must have been what she was talking about years ago. So I just kind of shelved it and didn't go back to it. And then, the past, I'd say 5 years, I've been on a bit of a journey there, because even modeling, that sort of happened by chance. And I know a lot of actors, they will like do modeling, they cross over, because you've got like lifestyle modeling, because a lot of like commercials, a lot of advertising, they'll ask for actors, but you'll get models applying, or that makes sense, you get actors applying, especially if it's just look at me washing my face and or doing hair or something. So it's you can't really pigeonhole anyone. You can't put them in a box. Because a lot of people, a lot of actors, they branch out, and models as well. They'll branch out and do things like talent agencies, production, directing. They do. It's not uncommon. Put it that way.
It makes. I think essentially, it sounds like that, because a lot of people, there's a lot of in business, there's people say shouldn't, if you should always have a clear niche in what you do, but of course you can have lots of different niches, so you can do different things as long as it's it's very clear what you're doing and who you're doing it for, and I think all the different things you do, they are related in many ways, and I think that's an interesting takeaway here. I think is that if you do have different businesses or side hustles, if it's things you're passionate about, and you've got the skills you've got to fit those different things, then I think that'll increase the chance you're doing well at them and enjoying them, because rather than doing things which are just completely try new things completely
Yeah.
unrelated, and mine more challenging. About your blogs, right? So I'm a writer, so I write a lot of blogs, write a lot on social media. And what tell me about your blogs. What you mentioned. The
Oh, okay. So this again, it's working with Psychic Today.
Okay.
They I didn't know that they did blogs, but they approached me earlier this year and asked me if I was interested in writing something for them, and I said sure. I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and that was really the start of my whole sort of journey back into this field, if you like. And I've got one that I'm working on, and then I've got loads of ideas for other ones. But anyway, they said do you want to write a blog? And I said, I've never written a blog. What sort of thing would you like? They said, well, have a look at our other blogs and let us know what you'd like to write about. So
do you choose the topics? Do you choose a?
Yeah, you can choose. Well, you. They don't ask you, oh, this is what I want you to write about. They literally say, give us some ideas, what you would like to write about, and then they'll pick either a couple of ideas, or they'll pick basically what they want. So I suppose it's a bit like it's like submitting articles to a magazine, but you're not freelance selling it. You're just saying, they've asked you to do it. So I've got a new one that's coming out, which is all about manifesting a phone call. Okay. And I was surprised because he called me up and he said, I can't believe we've never done this before. Like, this is exactly what people want to see. So I don't want to brag or anything, but when I started writing the blogs, it's quite moderate views, quite sort of normal. And then I did a series with them, all about different types of soulmates relationships, right. And the views sort of doubled. And from that point on, so I don't know if it's what I did or if what they were doing for advertising or how they were working it, but from then their blog sort of readership went up. It doubled. So I was like, I might have had a hand in that, but I don't want to brag about that.
Well, that's feel free to. I think it's obviously, if you've got an established channel with a very clear, audience, because the people who, watch the show and, perhaps will be ready to read the blogs, they've already got that interest already. Yeah. I think that obviously does, that does help. And that's when you're writing a blog, that's what you want is, to know who you're trying to reach and to have those people ready, really keen to know more about that subject. Another question. So, I talk a lot about the importance of influencing on my YouTube channel and a lot of the blogs I write. I mean, do you think the term influencing or influencers is overused? Because I believe, I think it's a really important skill genuinely for success in life, and particularly business. But, it's often, it's a term that's used a lot, particularly for social media. Do you think it's a good, it's overused, wrongly used, or do you have any?
Well, I think, everybody influences other, we all influence people in our own way. Like even our friends, I've got this friend and she's just so lovely, you just think, because, you're like, oh, I wish I could be more lovely like that. Why can't I be like, so I think we do look at other people often and, I do. I'm a bit of a parrot like that. I try to incorporate something that I like in somebody else. I try to think, is that me? Can I do that? Can I bring that, to my energy? So I think we all kind of influence, micro influence on our own way. The term influencer for social media, I find that one a real challenge because I think it's just telling people, this person is somebody you need to be listening to. And I think it is overused. You've always had people in fashion that are going to be influencing trends. Usually it's celebrities, but now we've got obviously Instagram, TikTok, and people are paying attention to those people. But I think what I've noticed is that currently the trend is very much on being yourself. So really, letting people know it's okay to be weird and different, and you don't have to be like that person, and you don't have to be super skinny, you don't have to be really tall, you don't have to be mega rich. And I think a lot of those influencers that we're familiar with, they're all portraying currently those traits, like wealth, like young and wealthy, and they've got loads of people around them, and it's all very superficial. It's not real. So I think this is where there should be a clear line here, because I think in terms of like life coaching, building your business, that's really, I think that's something that I think people need, because people, especially over lockdown, we had people had to find different ways of making money. Loads of new YouTube channels started, and people were starting to build their business up and create new businesses. And I think we do need to have more information available for people that are looking to build up, because not everyone can afford a marketing team. If you've got to do your own marketing, that's a real pain.
No, of course.
Very expensive.
No, it's true. I think there's been an explosion in the last sort of 10 years over how people are using self-publishing books, through Amazon, making their own radio shows for podcasting, their own TV shows, YouTube. And the last year lockdown, that's obviously grown even more. And in a way, we work from home, work online, but also sort of socializing. So I think it's a great opportunity to promote ourselves and our business, our message easier. But it's this fascinating thing to see how exactly it develops over the next year as well. So Heather, we're coming towards the end of our interview, but it's been fascinating. And one thing to say is, whether the audience, whether you believe in psychic or not, I think it's always good to have an open mind. But also, I think that's a great thing about life, is meeting different people, having these conversations, and listening to people's stories. And you can always learn something from someone else. That's where we learn in life. We learn by looking at people who have expertise in another area, who've done what you're trying to do before you, and learning from other people's experiences. So, and I've certainly learned some things today, Heather, and it's been, generally I really enjoyed chatting. So, if someone wants to follow you on your channels, I can share them in the box below this video. Did you want to sort of share anything now in any particular way?
So I'm on Instagram. That's the main place you can find me. Pop the link in, because I've just updated my channel a little bit. I've just changed my name slightly, so you can find me. So I'll put the link in. I'm available for work. I think it's great to be able to network, and I've certainly learned a lot about that, especially over lockdown. And I've just been trying to get on as many different platforms as I can. LinkedIn was quite new for me. That was a good one. And I think you do have to be careful on what platforms you're using, for sure, especially when you're saying I'm a model, because people will try and take advantage, so be very careful out there, everybody. If you're not sure, you can always ask me. I'm happy. I like, people contact me on Instagram. I'm happy to give them advice on the industry. If you're not sure if someone is being genuine or not, and they've asked you to pose for them, for example, I'm quite happy to have a look at that and you know, answer that for you.
Sure.
So yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram if you want to connect.